Ladies and gentlemen, now it's too late with Alan Mosley.
Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the number one producer in late night, is Sherry Voluntary. Sherry, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you seem put together this evening.
I don't know why, because I run late to everything.
You know what? I'll never try to pay you another compliment.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I was here on time. I'm just saying.
I mean, you're like, who are you even saying that to? Like, you're not saying that. You're not saying that to me.
I run late all the time. But
my opinion of you can't possibly be changed.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to the user to decide.
All right.
We got a cool little package in the mail.
Cool.
So one of our fans, and I'm not going to name who it is because I didn't get permission to use his name. He sent us a little package, and he sent us real money, Sherry.
What?
Not none of that fake monies. He sent us. Check this out. He sent us a 1/1000th Troy ounce, a Utah gold back. This is actual. Ooh. Look at that. It's look. Yeah, I know. So I've got a couple of these. Look at that. It's like actual. So this company that prints these, they're trying to solve the problem of, well, if you're going to use silver and gold as money, but you're not going to walk around with a sack of coins, that you could do this. So I thought that was really cool. And then just to complete the set, he also sent us some actual 1 ounce silver coins as well. Now, I want to say this really quick, though. He had sent, in the package where he sent this to us, he had a little letter. And in the bottom of the letter, it said, now don't just run off and exchange these for money. I mean, these will be worth more if you hold on to them. And so me, an intellectual, I immediately wrote him back and said, you won't believe these work in a Pepsi machine. I haven't heard back from him. I don't think he's going to send us anything else.
Right. Alan's canceled.
But I'll tell you what, the upside is we really, really appreciate your support. The downside is no one has sent us anything we can eat this week.
Well, you're going to lose more weight, Alan.
Or I mean, unless we're going to eat the silver coin. But see, that's a big enough coin that I think retrieving it later is going to be an issue. So anyway, thank you so much for doing that. But we're going to move right along to our old friend Kamala Harris. Do we have a picture of Kamala Harris? Yeah, there she is, right there. We always have a picture of Kamala Harris ready.
Oh, ready.
Democrats are worried because Kamala Harris's poll numbers are going down, and people are worried that she might not be a viable candidate for the future. I'm actually going to read you a little bit of this right here. They're planning on sending the vice president abroad to raise her profile. She is the most unpopular U.S. president 6 months into an administration since at least the 1970s. So her being underwater means that more Americans disapprove than approve of her job performance, which, by the way, like job performance of vice president is really just exist.
Yes.
And more than half of Americans disapprove of her existence. Now, the only thing that kills me about this, seeing this, like this was headline news in the Telegraph over in the UK. And I thought, it's so weird to see that headline like trending on Twitter. I wish there was some way we would have known how unpopular she was before now. No, I didn't see it coming. Gotta tell you.
Nobody did. Who could have known?
Yeah. Speaking of not seeing it coming, got some teen pregnancy news for you. Check out the World Population Review. This is their information on teen pregnancy. Now, the good news is that teen pregnancy has steadily been on the decline in the United States in the past 20 years. In 2018, the U.S. teen birth rate was 17.4 per 1,000. And that's ages 15 to 19. So it's not counting all those 14-year-olds having babies. I feel like that makes this poll broken.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. In 2019, it decreased to 16.9. But despite these lower rates, the U.S. continues to have the highest teen pregnancy rate of all developed nations. Now, I'm going to give a quick shout out here to, well, which state is doing the best? Which state is helping to break that curve? And believe it or not, it's the state of New Hampshire.
Wow.
New Hampshire has a teen pregnancy rate of 6.6 per 1,000.
Amazing.
And I honestly, I wasn't amazed at all. I wasn't surprised in the least to hear that it was New Hampshire that had the best numbers. You know why I wasn't surprised?
No.
Because libertarians can't get laid.
Oh, look, there's already been some torn off too.
Well, of course. Of course. You know, we don't have that problem down here in Tennessee, by the way. We don't, just in case you were wondering, since we're down here in Tennessee, New Hampshire was 6.6 per 1,000. We're 23.7 per 1,000, which it has technically fallen in the last 20 years still, but it's a little bit high.
We like to have them young. I'm just saying.
I mean, I keep getting older. They stay the same age. I mean,
wow.
all right. Yeah, but I mean, you know, from a historical perspective, like, you know that scene in the movie The Patriot where it's the beginning of the movie and Mel Gibson's character is going to run out to go save Gabriel because the British have taken him. And his other son got shot and all he has left are his daughter, who's like 12, and then his really little kids. Mm-hmm. And he brings the daughter over and he says, if I'm not back by nightfall, you round up the kids and you go to your aunt's house or whatever in Charleston and you stay there. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing a lot of people saying, like, wow, that's putting an awful lot of responsibility on that little girl in this very tense moment. But I mean, that's because those people don't realize that back in those days, like in another 6 months, she'd be having a kid. So
right. I mean,
I mean,
where's the lie? Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of where's the lie, we're gonna end the monologue tonight talking about our old friend Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York. Do we have a picture of Andrew Cuomo? No, it's not. No, hold on. Go back. Pull that picture back up. I can't help but notice how morbidly obese his bodyguards are.
Yes.
I mean, I'm assuming those are bodyguards. And also the one on the right looks very, very mafia-y,
They kind of both do, actually.
If you get me. Actually, the one on the left looks like Luca Brasi from the original Godfather. Anyway, that's not actually Andrew. Do we have a real picture of Andrew Cuomo? Yeah, there he is. That's him. I wonder how many people get all the references. Do you wonder?
That one might take them a minute, but
okay.
I think they will.
Anyway, he's back in the news because the New York State Attorney General, along with a couple of independent investigators, have concluded their investigation into the governor. And they've decided that, yes, it seems highly likely that because of the, what's the word we're looking for? The atmosphere of abuse and harassment that he fostered and making a chilling effect, causing many women to not report him. He did indeed sexually harass a number of people, perhaps more. But I want you to take a look at these details right here. So this was the details from the investigation. Look at that second bullet point. The state attorney general later added that the report, quote, does not have any criminal consequences. Why even bother investigating the powerful elite if you're going to conclude they're guilty? So let's move on.
Wow.
It doesn't that kind of remind you of Hillary? Like she absolutely broke the law with the emails. So let's move on.
Right. Exactly.
It's the exact same scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really more of a message out to the ladies out there who may have been victimized by Governor Cuomo. Now, far be it for me to tell you how you should react, because I'm not going to tell the victims how they should feel. All I'm going to tell you is the man has a name and an address, and maybe you can decide for yourself what should happen to him.
Oh, God. That picture gives me PTSD. I'm telling you, I have it already. You
guys at home didn't see the look on Sherry's face when she had to click that button. And yeah, go ahead and show them, Sherry.
Something like this. My stomach actually feels upset. Oh.
It's kind of like the one chip challenge a little bit.
A little bit. I haven't done that one, though.
Guys, We're going to be right back with the meme of the week and the viewer mail right after this. Don't go away. Guys, welcome back to the show. I was looking in the news right as we were getting ready to do the next segment here, and apparently, so there were 3 cops in D.C. that were connected to the whole January 6th thing that had committed suicide. Now it's up to 4.
Ooh.
Now there's 4 cops that were there on January 6th that have committed suicide. And you know, everyone's like busting out their tinfoil, wondering, like, that's a high enough number in a short span of time that it makes you wonder what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people were thinking to themselves, those might have been cops that, you know, pretty soon they're going to be giving testimony, and maybe those cops weren't going to toe the narrative. That wasn't even what crossed my mind at all. What crossed my mind is, boy, this is a really foot and mouth moment for you, Sherry. And you've always said there's no such thing as a good cop. Hey, Sherry.
Yes.
What time is it?
This is the meme of the week. Oh.
Hey, that's a it's too late in-house special right there.
That's the meme. Wow.
So I made that meme, and I immediately sent it to our friend Mike Meharry of God and Friends to ask him what he thought about it, because I didn't want to offend him, and he actually said he thought that was pretty solid. And I replied like, I think about Jesus a lot. But anyway, we got a bonus meme this week. Check out the bonus meme. When you not only helped pass laws outlawing carrying guns, but also heavily supported an all-out assault weapons ban. That's so Reagan.
I love how happy he is, too. Look at those. He's just so rosy-cheeked and happy about it.
Yeah, it would be better picture than like a modern one, I guess. So.
Yeah. Yep.
I was actually in the process of making a meme, and I don't want to give away the plot, but it's basically going to be some relatively young modern day right wingers that are going to be like the Ghostbusters, and they're going to like Slimer. Remember Slimer, the little green ghost?
Slimer.
I know. Okay, I know you would remember. But so the Ghostbusters their faces would be not the original Ghostbusters. It would be some different right GOP people. And Slimer, I can't decide. He's either going to be Reagan or McCain. Which one do you think would be funnier?
I mean, he kind of became their friend, so I don't know. Probably Reagan, just because they idolize him. Maybe
I'm kind of leaning
too.
That bonus meme makes me feel like Reagan would be funnier.
Yeah, I think so.
Speaking of hoping things get funnier, let's answer some viewer mail.
Lasagna sounds good.
I haven't had lasagna in a long time. I wonder who of our viewers can send us some lasagna. We're going to start with the first question. Daniel Blanchett writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, 2 Short, 2 Chainz, or 2 Pac? Too late. That should be our rapper name. Is Too Late.
Oh, that was good, man.
Do you listen to rap, Sherry?
I do. Too Short was big, when I was a kid. And but Tupac is he was a poet, right? Like he transcended the medium. So
well, I mean, if the medium you mean our mortal coil, then yes, he did transcend it. That is true. Andrew Avery, I feel like the purpose of tonight's episode is to identify as many different like identity groups within our audience and piss all of them off.
Oh, I thought that was our goal every week.
Andrew Avery writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, if a Chinese restaurant ignores the mask mandate, is that wanton disregard? So he followed that up with hopefully not considered political, because I had to give another warning.
Exactly.
I had to get, I had to give another warning because we tell people the viewer mail is for fun, personal questions, not politics. But Andrew was like, that pun was too good. And he's like, I'm gonna roll the dice on that one. Do you like Chinese food, Sherry?
I love Chinese food, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like Indian food?
I love Indian food, Alan.
You know, I've rarely had Chinese, and I've never had Indian food. That is. You weren't gonna say nothing. You were gonna shut the fuck up. That's what you're gonna do. Tim Weiss.
Spice level went to 11.
I want to stop. I'm going to stop myself there really quick to say, last week, I have to apologize. Last week we had some foul language on the program. Unlike this week, of course. And our good friend Dave Wilimowski, Dave and Mary Liberty Late Night, because they've like guest hosted the show before. And every time they've guest hosted the show, I've said, now guys, be on your best behavior. You can't use foul language on this show, because this here's a respectable network program. You can't be using that. This is a family entertainment. And they've always said, okay, we'll behave. And then, of course, what happens weeks later, Dave turns on the show, and there I am just dropping F-bombs left and right. And he actually messaged me. He was upset. He was a little upset.
You inspired ire.
You know what they should do? They do a movie night on Sunday nights. This past Sunday night, they watched Gladiator over on Float, because that's the only way you can do that and not have the FBI like come in and blow your brains out because you didn't have express written consent, you know. Yeah. So they go over on Float, Liberty Late Night, and they watch movies on Sunday nights with the audience. They should watch, Dave, Mary, if you're listening, you guys should watch Deliverance, I think. Okay.
Correct.
Tim Weissong writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, Tom Woods, as we all know, is a huge fan of It's Too Late, which that actually is true. I've actually had Tom Woods say to me something about It's Too Late, which would seem to suggest he had seen it. Can you believe that shit?
Wow.
Yeah. And here I thought he had a lot to do. Not as busy as he's always led us to believe.
Right. He's trying to live right now.
Yeah, right.
He's busy living.
Woods said that men should not wear shorts or Hawaiian shirts. My question is, how short do pants need to be to qualify as shorts? How long do shorts need to be to qualify as pants? If pants don't cover my ankles, but dress socks are covering the skin, can I still be a man? What about swim trunks? Do I need formal swimming attire? Where does one even purchase a swimming cummerbund? Now, Tim, I know you're trying to be funny, but so Woods actually did stipulate that didn't count for swimming. He said if you're in a pool, you can wear shorts, but unless you're in the pool, you shouldn't have shorts on. But I feel like it's still shady though, because what would be shorts on me would be pants on Tom. So
we're not supposed to laugh at our betters.
But thoughts and prayers though for him, you know?
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it be a classic thing to have happen if, like, right before the episode 2000, his 2000th episode special, he dies?
That'd be pretty bad, but we could all go to the funeral.
They should just have the funeral at the thing, because we'll all be there. Exactly. Actually, because I know I've had some people ask me this. We actually just booked our tickets. We're going to be there.
By we, you mean you?
Well, me and Anna Kay are going to be there.
Right.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you do at all, to be honest with you. You just show up here on Tuesday nights and say, "All right, what do you got for me this week?" I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're gonna be at the 2000s, which is October I feel like I should know if I'm
You
going to be there.
should.
Yeah.
I
If I
probably
had
should
any
too.
kind of goddamn producer, then those things would just pop up on the screen and then I could read them like from the thing and then I wouldn't look like an idiot when
Right,
we're,
right.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get paid too much for that
Yeah.
to be that
You get paid too much to do
disorganized.
that?
I get
Well,
paid too much to be that ungood at my job. Incompetent. That's the word I was trying to think of.
I get paid too much to be so ungood. We were doing so good tonight until now. All right. Eric Eli writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, favorite spaghetti western.
Oh,
It's got to
easy.
be the good, bad, the ugly, right?
Yeah, easy. That's by far the all-time best. It's just a great movie, great soundtrack, everything. Clint Eastwood. I mean, oh,
Mm-hmm. You know, they call it spaghetti westerns because it was westerns made in Europe by a bunch of Euro trash like Italians and stuff.
Italians. Yep.
So, what would they like? What would they call them if they were made in Russia?
Sauerkraut.
Well, that'd be
West.
German.
Oh yeah, that's right. What is
Jesus,
what is the thing
you're
that comes from Struce? No,
it'd
that's
be
not.
like vodka westerns,
It's the
caviar
only food they
westerns.
have.
They literally just drink vodka and eat caviar.
Yeah. Cigarette
Um,
westerns.
you want to know something funny, by the way? Because just really quick, this is your fault. You
Oh,
got me
whoops.
distracted, so this is your fault. So you might remember from like a year or two ago, the Russians got caught cheating a whole bunch in athletics, and so they were banned from this Olympics. But there's Russian athletes participating. So if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, if Russia got banned, then why is there a bunch of Russians in the Olympics? It's because if you look in the medal counts, it says ROC, which is the Russian Olympic Committee. It's not Russia. It's the Russian Olympic Committee, y'all. It's a totally different thing, and so they get to play.
I never would have guessed it was Russians all
And
along.
and by the way, like I'm not even for that to begin with. Like if Joe Bob over here was taking steroids, I don't think that Jim then should not get to go to the Olympics or his
Right.
whole country for like I'm not for that, all that nationalist crap in the first place. I just think it's funny that they wanted to look strong by bringing the hammer down on them cheating Russians. And
Right.
then they just added a couple letters to the flag and then let them all play anyway. That's
So what your mom would do, you know.
what a time to be alive. Really is. Mike Meharry writes, Jesus, here we go. Dear Alan and Sherry, if you had to do it, how long do you think it would take you to read a 2,702-page infrastructure bill? I asked him if he was asking for a friend, because that sounds like something he would have to do for
Right.
TAC.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I'd have no idea how long that would take me. But, if you've ever seen the pages in an actual bill where it's usually like typeset really wide with really big indentions, the way they write legislation, like it's not like
Hmm.
it's 10-point font, single space, So
Right.
it's like I imagine it's not as long as that sounds, but I mean, I imagine it would still take like weeks to do it and actually comprehend it, like actually
Yeah.
take notes. And
It's all jargon.
Mike, we wish you the best.
It was nice knowing you.
Marilyn Wilimowski writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, do you like mayonnaise? If yes, what's your brand of choice? Now, Sherry, I know you're really upset because the
I
Wilimowskis,
am.
they just had this big mayonnaise taste testing. I'll let you have the floor. You go right ahead.
I feel like she's kind of trying to rub salt in my wounds because I was already salty about them doing the mayonnaise taste test without me. But I will answer the question because I'm a bigger person, and
Okay.
that is Hellman's mayonnaise is the best.
So
Like
you
it is the Cadillac of mayonnaise.
so you said Hellman's is the best. I actually watched poor Dave eat literal spoonfuls of mayonnaise. I haven't heard from him since. I don't know what that means.
He's
But
probably dead.
the winner of the taste test was Hellman's.
Uh,
So how
well,
about that?
they could have just asked me. I could have told them. Jeez.
For a moment there, you had the Hillary Clinton what look on your face.
What?
Uh,
Oh,
Michael Clark writes, it's Mike of Mike and Friends who
wow.
writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, everybody knows that COVID came from bats. If you could choose a different animal from which to contract a virus, which animal would it be?
All right. right.
All right. All right. Um, Sherry, Sherry, if you could
Oh,
contract a virus from a different animal than a bat, which one would
I
it
love
be?
how you punked out and gave it to me. I'm gonna go with koala bears because then you could
There.
touch and pet them.
No, have you ever seen pictures of them when they're mad and like covered in water? They're
Yeah,
vicious. They're bears, so
right, but
it
they're
said
little.
it says bear in the name.
Yeah, but they hiss at you and they're cute.
Oh, I don't. I'm gonna during the break we're gonna find a picture of an angry koala bear, and you're gonna. I'm gonna say a Jew. Adam Sakosan writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, if you could pick a different time and place in history to be alive, when and where would that be? So I feel like we've answered a very similar question to this in the past, and the answer is everyone who says anything other than here and now is lying.
Yeah.
They
I,
they might have their little rosy colored glasses on of oh back in my day. No, 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 no.
yeah.
Everything is so much better now
Yeah.
that you're lying if you want to go back.
I can definitely tell you that any woman who says that has not thought shit through. That's all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
What's the Louis C.K. bit of black people don't mess with time machines? Like anything before 1980, no thank you. I don't want
Right.
to
That's so
go.
funny.
I would go in the future though, for real. I would.
Yeah.
I
It'd
mean,
be
I
like altered carbon.
yeah, I want to see how this shit ends up. Ryan Seifert writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, who would you rather have for a roommate, Hunter Biden or Ellen DeGeneres?
Hmm.
First of all, what a random selection of people.
Yeah, yeah. Although I feel kind of torn about this one.
I mean, I feel like the answer is Ellen DeGeneres because, for one, I don't have to worry about her making a move on me. And two, if you're roommates with Hunter Biden and he gets caught up in something, they're going to blame it on you and have you suicided.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true. I doubt Ellen will have a suicided, but I just feel like Hunter, like Ellen, she's fun and likes to party and dance, which I love to dance and have fun, but Hunter really likes to party and yeah, that might be, well, maybe not.
Jonathan
Go ahead.
Carranza writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, if womb is pronounced womb, WOMB is pronounced womb, and if tomb, TOMB is pronounced tomb, then why isn't bomb pronounced boom? I don't so much have an answer for you as in I'm going to blow your mind even more. Not only is it bomb and boom, what about comb? Comb is not calm or coom. It's comb.
Ooh,
So now you've added a third into the mix.
wow, this is too much. Sorry.
Something Anna Kay will never let me do. Add a third into the mix. Logan Denny writes, Jonathan, I hope this helps. Logan, I feel bad for Jonathan. You guys, I don't know if Jonathan would like me telling you this, so I'm going to do it anyway. Jonathan had hurt his back. So Jonathan is our social media extraordinaire, and he hurt his back, and he's been down for, like, how with back injuries are
Yes.
just shit. So he died, and he had to get like baby fetuses injected into his back so he could walk
Oh.
again. And he's just now getting back on his feet, and so I'm so glad I could help him just now today with that. I should have sent him one of these, I think,
Yeah.
but let's not. Logan Denny writes, Dear Alan Sherry, have you bought any new spices? I literally only have two things that could qualify as spices in my cabinet. One is like just the generic burger spice, and one is the generic steak spice.
Hmm.
That's it. I'm not a big spices
Right.
person.
I have a ton of spices. I buy lots of spices. So, seasoned salt was the last one I bought, but
I feel like y'all are judging me.
you're white people.
It is great. It's just tops. I gotta tell you. Lyle Durio writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, was Bezos still the richest man on Earth when he went to space?
Wow.
If So I'm going to say he was, and I'm going to base that on, if you're going to say that just because he took a brief trip to space, that meant he wasn't on Earth anymore and therefore wasn't the richest man on Earth, then that technically means if Elon Musk hops, he just fell down infinity's places in the rankings because he's not on Earth.
Right.
I mean, right?
True.
Lyle, you're timed out for 2 weeks. David Wilimowski. David is alive!
Wow.
Dave is alive. Dave Wilimowski writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, are biscuits and gravy and spaghetti and tomato sauce technically the same thing?
I mean, carb with sauce, but only a Yankee would ask that.
Well, he followed that up with, there's probably a better way to word that. I'm not exactly sure what he's driving at.
I think it's just...
Poor Jonathan, who is our social media guy, because he's trying to get Dave on the show, is trying to help Dave out and says, did you mean, are biscuits and gravy technically the same thing as spaghetti and tomato sauce? To which Dave replied, or maybe none of this makes sense. I'm sorry, I've been eating a lot of mayo.
His arteries have hardened very much.
Dave, I've already told you, and I'll tell you again, I see you. You're seen and you are loved. And finally this week, Clay Davis writes, Dear Alan and Sherry, who makes the best ice cream? Sherry, who makes the best ice cream?
Oh, that would have to be Mayfield ice cream.
Mayfield?
Mayfield.
What flavor?
Oh, strawberry cheesecake. Oh, it was like 1980 or 81, like ice cream of the year, according to the New York Times. So I have visited the factory.
What a random statistic to bring to the show.
I'm a homeschool mom. What can I say? They said bring something. That's what I brought.
Who makes the best ice cream? Not Israel, apparently.
Oh.
Boy, that's it. And you know, like, we were right on track and everything for this to be such a tight episode, and now we're like 12 minutes over now.
This.
Guys, we're going to be back right after this break. Don't go away. Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for It's Too Late with Alan Mosley. Email us at info@alanmosley.tv. So anyway, I feel like I shouldn't have to apologize for the first couple of segments being too long, because most people only watch the monologue and the meme of the week and viewer mail anyway. So we're just trying to get people to keep their eyeballs on for a longer period of time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I mean, I know you already knew that, so I'm just clarifying.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start off with today. It's another segment of Rules for Thee and Not for Me. Check this out. From the Washington Examiner. Obama, Lightfoot, Bowser. Democrats ignore Delta fears, forge ahead with large gatherings. Look at, I can't imagine how it is those two interns managed to get that spot on the video.
Me neither.
It reminds me of that bit where he was talking about, like, isn't it amazing that every modern music artist is attractive? Isn't that just such a huge coincidence?
It is. It's incredible.
You would think that just by accident there would be one ugly, talented musician.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is actually coming on the heels of several different stories. So the Washington, D.C. mayor, Muriel Bowser, she was the one that literally, she had just instituted a new mask mandate in Washington, D.C. And then not hours after that, had pictures of herself taken where she was at a bunch of private parties. And I think she actually officiated a wedding as well. And they had pictures of her without her mask on, just going to show, of course, that not only did she do it, but just the audacity to have literally just ordered the D.C. police to be arresting people who are out in public without their mask while she's out in public without her mask. Do we have a picture of the large gathering that she was at? Yeah, there it is. But she wasn't the only one. There was also Mayor Lightfoot out in Chicago, and also the man himself, Barack Obama, who I think was in the top left of that picture that you just brought up.
Right. Let's see. I
Pull
think
that.
so.
I tell you what, that looks a lot like Obama.
Sure does.
I might be racist, but I'll be damned if that ain't Obama.
Yes.
Anyway. So, but this isn't the first time that this has happened. There's been, I mean, everyone's seen the pictures of Fauci without a mask. The cameras just turned off, and then you see Pelosi et al. Taking off a mask. I know Pelosi was in the news recently because she was ordering the DC police to be arresting visitors who didn't have their masks and to continue to fine representatives who were in the House that weren't wearing a mask, even though she's not wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Which just, again, goes to show you that it's about control and oppression and not about the mask itself.
Yep.
But today, the mask sort of took a back seat to the big news. Conspiracy theorists all over the country tried to warn people, but those warnings fell on deaf ears. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vax Pass is here. Starting in New York City to require vaccination for indoor activities, restaurants, and gyms. So that's actually from our friend Mayor de Blasio up in New York. New York City will require proof of vaccination for workers and customers who want to participate in indoor activities, including dining in restaurants, working out in gyms, and attending theater performances, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Tuesday. The policy is one of the first of its kind in the United States and comes amid a nationwide spike in COVID-19 infections. Notice, by the way, that it has nothing to do with deaths anymore. Now they're back to only talking about cases.
Cases, yeah.
Yep. Driven largely by the spread of the Delta variant in people who are unvaccinated. Also notice that they have that in this Hill article, but the CDC's own data reported that people who are vaccinated are just as likely to spread the new variants as those who are unvaccinated. It's almost as if the vax didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're calling it, by the way, they're calling it the Key to NYC Pass.
Ugh.
That just, anyway. It'll begin August 16th, and enforcement will begin September 13th, de Blasio said during a news conference. This is his quote. It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary for living a good, full, and healthy life. If you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. Now, I want to take a moment there to talk about that, because there's sort of the conjecture of something we've talked about on the show many times is, where do you draw your line in the sand? And I believe that there may indeed be a lot of people in the country that would say, look, if they start knocking on people's doors saying you have to get vaxxed or we're going to shoot you in the head, it might get a little shooty out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, because that might be a bridge too far, they might not come out and pass a vaccine requirement. Because even with this, it's not technically legally required.
Right.
It's just, we're going to make your life a living hell if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, someone like me would say, well, you've already crossed the line. But what they would argue is that, oh, no. We're not saying you have to. We're just saying we'll destroy you if you don't. Subtle little distinction.
Right. Yeah.
But it's times like these that I feel like people in the liberty community, and I'm going to try to be as politically correct and nice and kind as I possibly can. And I'm not going to play the game of who is a real libertarian and who we're going to caucus with and join hands with to fight this. I feel like if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you're a libertarian of any stripe, a paleo, a Hoppian, a left libertarian, whatever you want to call yourself, this is something that should consolidate all of those people to come together and say, no. Yeah. We're not going to mince words, and we're not going to split hairs. This is a capital N, capital O, full stop.
Yeah.
So let's check in with our friends over at Reason Magazine, the Beltway Libertarians. Here's Robbie Sove, who says, I would much rather be required to show proof of vaccination than be required to wear a mask. And I suspect I'm not alone. I'm not a supporter of government mandates in general, and have in fact opposed virtually all COVID-era requirements. But if it's a choice between one or the other, it's not even close. I say this to point out the weakness of the anti-vaccine passport position. I think many people fear, reasonably, that the alternative is a semi-permanent mask mandate, which for me and others feels a lot worse. Wow. So anyway, yeah, get that out of here if you want to play that other thing. So I just, yeah, go ahead. I mean, what do you even say to that? Like this, it's the same type of just beta logic of like that last little part in here where it says, people may fear reasonably that the alternative is a semi-permanent mask mandate, which for me and others feels a lot worse. So what you're saying is because evil people will threaten you with something else, you'll go along with this one thing. This wasn't it just like last week or something we were making the analogy of if the abusive spouse says I'll kill you if you leave, that doesn't mean stay. That's
Right.
actually a bigger red flag that you should be getting the hell out of Dodge.
Maybe you should go.
Jesus
This isn't working out.
Christ.
Yeah.
So this just mega pussy. Like he's not so I reserve the phrase Astro Cuck for the conservatives. He's just mega pussy because I couldn't think of anything right now. Robbie So for reason is a mega pussy. It's just freaking beta energy, man. Beta energy. But just so that we're not taking his words out of context, he did have a follow-up tweet. Here it was right here. If I'm going to be raped, I would much rather they use a condom. And I suspect I'm not alone.
I'm glad he cleared that up.
Right? Thank you. If something that people had talked about months ago at this point, because I feel like a lot of people felt, perhaps naively, that we were past this. You know, case the vaccine was out and cases were down, deaths were down, which is the more important thing. And so people felt like we were past this. But the CDC updates their guidelines, says, oh no, there's variants here. We're going to update our guidelines. We're recommending masks. We talked just last week that if you're somewhere where they're going to bring back masks in schools, if they're listening, if you live in a place that's no longer listening to the so-called experts that are really just political shills, then they're probably not going to listen to these edicts. But if you're in a place where they do listen to the political shills, then they probably are going to listen to the new edicts. I can't even imagine still living in New York at this point.
Yeah. I think they're really going to drive people from, the major cities. They're just going to become ghost towns, basically, that all the sane people are going to leave.
Yeah. But I'm going to end on this note for this segment. Now, one thing that some people might be thinking, or maybe this is just more tongue-in-cheek, is they think, well, you remember all those riots and protests like a summer ago, back towards the end of the Trump era, all the BLM and the Black Lives Matter, the all cops are bastards, the justice for George Floyd, and there were others, but Floyd was kind of the one that really kicked it off nationwide. Mm-hmm. As a part of so many of those protests, there were also a lot of riots. And those riots, those were no good. That was just destruction of people's private property. It was just people burning down their own communities and causing damage. But the point being is that in a lot of places, the police were basically told to stand down. And, small business owners more or less had to fend for themselves. Yeah. And oftentimes just stood back and watched their family business burn to the ground because they also know, well, if I step in and do anything, they'll arrest me, right? Mm-hmm. So the police didn't, if you consider the police even a shred of legitimate, they didn't do their jobs. They weren't out there putting an end to this destruction of private property. But apparently some of those police had hurt fifis. Which leads us to bills like this one right here. We got to protect the cops, Sherry. We got to protect them. Bill to protect Nassau police from hate crimes sparks controversy. Now, if you're wondering what this is, believe it or not, in Nassau County, in New York, and by the way, this bill is being spearheaded by Democrats. Because when you're the party in power, the stormtroopers listen to you, right?
No.
So this bill being spearheaded by Democrats, what it does is it would make allegedly protesting in such a way that causes harm or distress to the police that can be considered a hate crime. Now, what does this do? What does this open the floodgates of? Now, on this very program, we've talked about qualified immunity in the past, and how with qualified immunity, you and I cannot turn around and sue a police officer for hurting us because he was just doing his job.
Yep.
With this bill, it'll allow police officers to file a suit in civil court against you.
Wow. Wow. And the conservatives are going to eat it up.
I mean, that's the funny thing, is that when the Democrats are falling in line with the police, there'll be some conservatives that are like, but I'm against the Democrats.
Right.
But the other will say, but we're for the cops. And there they go.
They got this one right, y'all.
Yeah. Shit's fucked.
Correct.
Dave, shit is fucked. Guys, we're going to be back to give you a little Olympic news right after this break. Don't go away. If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. Guys, welcome back to the show. We're going to give you a little Olympic news. Sad to report that the first ever transgender athlete, Laurel Hubbard, is out of the weightlifting competition early. Go ahead and pull that up, Sherry. Laurel Hubbard, first transgender Olympian out of weightlifting competition early. Laurel Hubbard's groundbreaking Olympics debut didn't go quite as planned. She made history. Well, he made history as the first transgender athlete to compete at the Olympics, was eliminated after failing to record a single lift in 3 attempts in Monday's over 87 kilogram super heavyweights. Take a look at that picture again. Pull that back up, Sherry. Yeah, that does look a little bit like a super heavyweight, I suppose. I mean, when you're right, you're right. But that's not really the story I want to touch on. I know that there was plenty of people out there saying, kind of doing the Nelson, ha ha, because he got put out. And turns out that a middle-aged, overweight, untalented man couldn't compete very well against the young in their prime women. But that's not really the story for me. The story was, if he had a position on the team to represent the women in weightlifting, it means that there was an actual woman who got bumped off. And turns out there actually was. Take a look at this right here. It was actually reported in Breitbart. Tongan woman denied a chance to compete in Olympics because of trans weightlifter. According to reports, transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard kept a minority woman. Oh, Sherry, it was a woman of color at that.
That matters.
Out of the Olympics. Many are noting that Kuanini Nini Manumua, and so we got a picture of her right here. They call her Nini. Nini Manumua, the woman who was ultimately displaced by inclusion of Laurel Hubbard. She's 21, and it would have been her first Olympics.
Wow.
So she was bumped out of the Olympics contention because Laurel Hubbard entered to represent New Zealand in Tokyo. It was noted, Hubbard stole the place of Kuanini Manumua, a 21-year-old woman of color who had trained for years. This would have been her first Olympics. Now, there's a couple things to remember about this. First is the average age of the female weightlifters in this category is 24. She's 21. So this is going into her prime, and this would have been her first Olympics. Olympics are once every 4 years. Mm-hmm. If you miss an Olympics, you're talking about that might be the end of your journey.
Exactly.
And hers was stolen from her because they gave what would have ultimately been a last position on the team went instead to Laurel Hubbard. Leave it up to men to take the place of women.
Women.
On the women's team at that. But I'll tell you this, I know that we're getting short on time, but there was a lot of women's groups that were talking about this particular story because they were making it about, well, what about the woman? We're talking so much about the wokeism in the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and bringing in transgender athletes. Well, what about the women? Yeah. And this is something that's really important to consider, is when you're going to live in a clown world where a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man because they say so, and then you're going to be so woke that you're going to entertain that nonsense, then in a competition, you still have to have a rule book, right? Mm-hmm. Which means you still have to draw a line somewhere. Like somewhere there has to be some type of rule that governs this phenomenon. Who can compete for what, for when. And so, like, for instance, like, well, why even bother if they're just going to let people identify and do whatever? And to be fair, it's like, if we're really going to split hairs, like, for instance, you can't have Usain Bolt race against the men one day and then literally the next day him just decide, I want to race against the women.
Right.
And so the way that they decided that how they would categorize who competes as a man and a woman is they based it on testosterone levels. So I don't remember exactly what the level is, but they drew a line at a certain testosterone level. And if your testosterone levels were above that, then as far as the IOC was concerned, you're a man and you can't compete in the female category. And vice versa, if your testosterone level is below that number, then as far as the IOC is concerned, if you say you're a woman, you get to compete in the women's category of the Olympics. So wow. Laurel Hubbard did indeed pump his bitch ass so full of estrogen that his testosterone was so far down that he met that requirement. Although I'm willing to bet, I'm not an investigative journalist, but I'm willing to bet if you dug into it, you would find that whatever he was testing at is probably where they set the bar.
Wow.
I'm willing to bet. I can't say that, but I'm willing to bet, because this is the first time it's happened. I'm willing to bet that they used him basically as an example and said, well, oh, wouldn't you know, 0.1 above that, is the line. But what's crazy about this is, and it's something that you and I had talked about before, there are actual natural born women on this planet who tested out at a testosterone level above that percent, that requirement.
Right.
So that means, because they drew this arbitrary line, because they had to make up a rule, because they were entertaining just objectively false scientific nonsense, and they had to make a rule for it, that meant that there were natural born women who were excluded from Olympic competition based on this new rule, while natural born men were added to teams under the women's category.
Wow. Isn't it just interesting too? It's like, it's so like them, like these kind of woke people, to reduce people to one specific factor in order to, like, you're not a human, you're black, or you're a woman, or you're a white man, or whatever. They're reducing people to their testosterone levels. And it smacks of that kind of woke scientism to me.
Well, one of the biggest problems, I think, with the wokeism is that, and you hear people joke about it, but it's not a joke. There's the woke Olympics, or the victim Olympics, is that so in order to promote a trans athlete, you had to denigrate a female athlete of color. You had to do that. So
disgusting.
So on that note, I want to leave things on a more positive note while we go into the last commercial break. I don't want people to feel like this is a program that just espouses hatred and bigotry. I'll tell you what, I kind of admire Laurel Hubbard. You got to have real balls to go out there and put things on the line like he did. Guys, we're going to be right back after this last commercial break. Don't go away. Hi guys, it's Alan here, and I want to take a moment to let you know about one of our supporters who started a new business. Laura Moreau sells 50 different health and wellness all-natural products, from weight loss, supplements, energy enhancers, body toning, longer and stronger hair, and so much more. Do you like coffee? Well, they even have coffee that'll help you drop some pounds, and who doesn't want to drop a few pounds? Go check her out at her online store at lauramoreau.itworks.com today. That's lauramoreau.itworks.com. Like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/AlanMosleyTV. You can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/AlanMosleyTV. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/AlanMosleyTV. Also, don't forget, go support a free speech platform. Don't just complain. It's Too Late with Alan Mosley is now on Odyssey. You can find us at odyssey.com. You can search Alan Mosley TV or It's Too Late with Alan Mosley. Also, if you're more of a listener than a watcher, we're on your favorite podcasting platform of choice thanks to Anchor FM. It's anchor.fm/Alan Mosley TV. Sherry, do you have a final thought? No. That's don't Cuomo people. Well, I mean, you shouldn't de Blasio people either, but you should definitely not Cuomo people. Guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next week.